Good day everyone. Once again, welcome to my channel. For today's lesson, we are going to discuss the 6 trigonometric ratios. Ito namang topic na to is for grade 9 students. Sila naman ang ating tutulungan. If you are ready, then let us now begin. Well, we need to understand that triangles are not always in standard position, and the sides may be represented by different letters. So, iba-ibang letters ang ginagamit. Tapos, hindi nga naka-standard position ang given triangle. It helps to define and memorize the trigonometric ratios in terms of the side adjacent to an angle, the side opposite an angle, and the side opposite the right angle or the hypotenuse. Ibig sabihin yan mga bata, once na-identify natin itong three sides na to, yung side adjacent to an angle, and side opposite an angle, and the side opposite the right angle or the hypotenuse, it would be easier for you to identify and give the 6 trigonometric ratios out of the 6 trigonometric functions. Now, if you notice, meron tayong 6 trigonometric functions dito sa baba. And these are sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. As you can see, if you look at sine of theta or sine of a given angle, it is opposite over the hypotenuse. And if you look at the other side, yung katapat ng sine is cosecant of theta, which of course, ang ratio naman niya is hypotenuse over the opposite. If you notice, nagkabaliktad yung opposite hypotenuse, then hypotenuse opposite. Meaning to say, sine, ang reciprocal ng sine function is cosecant function. Then pag ipinagpatuloy natin, cosine is cosine of theta means adjacent over the hypotenuse. Yun naman ang kanyang ratio. And the opposite function of cosine is secant. And secant ratio is equivalent to hypotenuse over the adjacent. And lastly, meron tayong tangent which is opposite over the adjacent side, and its reciprocal cotangent is adjacent over the opposite side. So para mas madali nating maintindihan itong 6 trigonometric ratios na to out of the 6 trigonometric functions, yung iba, ang ginagawa dito sa sine of theta, yung sine is for S. Okay? And since they have this ratio opposite over the hypotenuse, ang ginagawa nila, sinusulat nila ay SO. Okay? So, dun pumasok yung SO. O for opposite and H for hypotenuse. Thinking na yun ay opposite over the hypotenuse. And for cosine function, they use C for cosine, then adjacent ay A, and hypotenuse is for H. Yun naman, ang basa nila ay K. Nasa isip nila, it is adjacent over the hypotenuse. Siyempre pa, the given function is cosine. And lastly, for tangent, they use T for tangent, and then opposite over adjacent, they use what? TOA. Okay, OA. At doon pumapasok yung madalas nating marinig sa iba na SO, then ka, TOA. Okay? On the other side, paano naman? Ano naman ang kanilang ginamit? So for cosecant, still, ang ginamit nila is C. Pero alam nilang itong C na to is for cosecant. Kung kanina C is for cosine, ngayon C is for cosecant. But syempre pa, instead of ka, magiging naman siyang ko. Okay? Para hypotenuse over the opposite. Okay? And then for secant, pero sabi ng iba ay secant, they use what? S-E. C. Kompleto. Sec for secant. And then, since it is hypotenuse over the adjacent side, doon pumapasok yung H-A. So, ang basa nila dyan is Secha. And for cotangent, they use what? Cot. For cotangent. And then adjacent is A. And then O is for O. Doon naman pumapasok yung Cotao. Kaya sabi nila, So, Ka, Towa, Ko, Secha, Cotao. At once na-memorize mo ito, so Cotao, Secha, Cotao, then yun, yung tinatawag nating 6 trigonometric ratios of the acute angle in terms of the sides of the right triangle. Ayos? Ayos. Now, let us have a sample. Illustrate the 6 trigonometric ratios of triangle MAT. Well, in this triangle, kita natin na ang right angle ay yung angle A. Kaya naman, opposite this right angle ay yun. Ito, yung side A. Itong side A na to, siya yung ating tinatawag na hypotenuse. Kasi nga, dahil siya yung opposite side ng right angle na A. Now, since we have this angle theta, ibig sabihin mga bata, ito yung magiging point of reference ninyo when it comes to angle. Ay yung opposite the side, yung opposite side, of this angle, ito. Siyempre pa, yan yung tatawagin nating opposite. So, gawin na lang nating for opposite. And since na-identify na natin yung opposite side and hypotenuse, lumalabas itong side M. Ito yung tinatawag nating adjacent side of this angle theta. So, maliwanag na yung three sides natin. Na-identify na natin ang opposite side, na-identify na natin ang hypotenuse side, at syempre, na-identify na natin ang adjacent side. So, dumako na tayo dun sa 6 trigonometric ratios. Sabi natin kanina, for sine, ang ginamit natin ay S, then OH, yung so. Ibig sabihin, sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. Kaya naman, ang side natin ay T, and then ang hypotenuse natin ay A. Ibig sabihin, sine theta is T over A. Next, for cosine, sabi natin ay K. C-A-H. And that is adjacent over the hypotenuse. So, lumalabas, ang adjacent natin ay M, and then ang hypotenuse natin ay A. Kaya naman, it is M over A. Next, tangent is T, then OA, which is opposite over the adjacent or over the adjacent side. Now, ano ang opposite nga natin? Ang opposite ay T at ang adjacent natin ay M. So, that is T over M. Next, cosecant. Still, ang ginamit natin ay C. But instead of K, which is A over H, magiging itong H over O. Kasi nga, C here is for cosecant, na kung saan reciprocal siya ng sine function. Kaya naman, instead of O over H, naging siyang H over O. So, hypotenuse, A, and then opposite, T. Next, we have secant. So, we use sec. And then, HA, Secha. So, hypotenuse over the adjacent. Kaya naman, A over M. And lastly, for cotangent, meron tayong cot and AO, adjacent over the opposite. Kaya, meron tayong M over T. At itong mga bata, yung 6 trigonometric ratios of this given triangle MAT. Learning task number 2. Illustrate the 6 trigonometric ratios given the following measurement of triangle KIM. Again, i-identify ulit natin yung 3 sides. Isa-isahin ulit natin sila. So, sa una, opposite this right angle, angle I, is this side 10. So, ito ngayon ang ating hypotenuse. o yung tinatawag nating H. Okay? And since we have this given angle theta, very obvious na yung katapat niyang side, yun ang lumalabas na opposite o yung tinatawag nating O. And that is 6. And syempre pa, itong natitira na 8, ito naman yung ating adjacent side o yung ating A. Na kung saan itong 8, ito yung tumatayong adjacent side nitong angle K. Okay? Now, isa-isahin na natin ang 6 trigonometric ratios. Una is sine theta. Sabi natin kapag sine is so, that is opposite over the hypotenuse. If you look at our given, ano ba ang opposite value natin? So that is 6. Okay? So lagay natin 6. And then the hypotenuse is 10. So we have this ratio, 6 over 10. Na kung saan pwedeng i-lowest term. Pwede silang i-divide by 2. Kaya naman, 6 divided by 2 magiging 3. At ang 10 divided by 2 naman ay 5. So our new ratio ay 3, 5. Or 3 is to 5 or 3 over 5. Okay? Now, kasunod natin kuning function ay yung reciprocal of sine function, which is the cosecant function. So the reciprocal of 6 over 10 is 10 over 6. And of course, the reciprocal of 3 over 5 is 5 over 3. So nakuha na natin yung reciprocal function ng sine, which is cosecant. And the answer is 5 over 3. Okay? Now, next function, cosine. When we speak of cosine, it is ka. Na kung saan ang ibig sabihin ay adjacent over the hypotenuse. Ang ating adjacent ay 8. Tapos, ang ating hypotenuse ay 10. If you look at 8 and 10, common sila sa 2. Kaya yung 8, pag dinivide by 2, magiging 4. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. And again, the reciprocal function of cosine is secant. Kaya naman, instead of 8 over 10, make it 10 over 8. And the reciprocal of 4/5 ay the 5 over 4. Next, we have tangent function. When you speak of tangent, it is TOA, na kung saan it is opposite over the adjacent. Ang opposite natin, 6. And then ang adjacent natin, 8. Both divisible by 2 ang 6 and 8. Ito magiging 3. Ito magiging 4. And the reciprocal function of tangent is cotangent. Kaya naman ito magiging 8, magiging 6. At syempre pa, magiging siyang 4 over 3. So ito ngayon, yung learning task number 2. Next, complete the illustration of triangle RAM by labeling the missing sides on the right to find the value of the other trigonometric ratios. Unahin natin yung given triangle. Meron tayong triangle RAM. Siyempre pa, opposite the side of this angle A, which is the right angle, is side A. So sulat nyo. Pag sinabing side mga bata, ang dapat ay small letter ang inyong isusulat. Anong letter ang isusulat? Siyempre pa, yung maliit na letter o yung lowercase na letter nung given capital letter. Kagaya nito, ang opposite this angle A, if you notice, ang isinulat ng sir ay yung lowercase na A. Tingnan nyo itong R, capital R. Opposite this angle, ang isinulat ay small r. Ibig sabihin, opposite this angle, M, ano isusulat ko? Opposite this angle, ay di yung lowercase na M. So, hindi pwedeng malaking letter ang gagamitin natin, ha? Kaya pag sinabing side, dapat small letter. Pag sinabing angle, capital letter. Gets natin? Ayos. Now, Kompletohin natin yung 6 trigonometric ratios. Well, ibinigay na yung 3 functions na sine, cosine, tangent. Tapos ibinigay na rin ang kanyang ratios. Nagkataon, alam natin ang reciprocal ng sine ay cosecant. Kaya instead of m over a, magigilang siyang a over m. Which of course, tama nga kaya? Tingnan nga natin, by the way. Diba opposite of angle A is the hypotenuse? Tama? And then opposite this angle, 64 degrees, ay the opposite, the O. And then opposite of this angle R, lumalabas yung itong side R na to is the adjacent side of angle M, which is 64 degrees. So yun yung adjacent side. And sabi natin, pag sinabing cosecant, that is co. Tanda niya? And hypotenuse, anong hypotenuse natin? A, yun, tama. And then opposite, M, so yun. Kaya naging A over M. Next, for cosine, tama ba ang cosine ay R over A? Di ba sabi natin, cosine is adjacent over the hypotenuse. So, adjacent natin ay R, tama. And then, ang hypotenuse natin ay A. So, tama. And so happened that the reciprocal function of cosine ay secant. Kaya naman, instead of R over A, magigilang siyang A over R. Yun. And lastly, for tangent, 64 degrees, or tangent M, ano naman ang ating magiging kasagutan? Tama bang ang tangent 64 degrees or tangent M here ay M over R? Sabi natin, tangent ay opposite over what? Adjacent. E di, ibig sabihin, ang opposite nga ay M, so tama ito. And then, ang adjacent ay R, which is also correct. At syempre pa, ang reciprocal function nung tangent ay cotangent. Kaya naman, ito ay magiging R over M. So, this is it. For the assessment part, let us answer these 5 questions. Choose and write the letter of the correct answer on the blank before each number. For numbers 1 to 5, refer to triangle CAJ. Number 1, which of the following illustrates sine 52? To answer this question, let us first identify the 3 sides of a given triangle CAJ. Very obvious that the angle or the side opposite this angle, right angle, angle A, is side A. Okay? Aside from side A, ito yung tinatawag nating segment CJ. Bakit siya naging segment CJ? Kasi ito yung point C, okay, and then ito yung J, kaya siya segment CJ. And of course, this is our hypotenuse, o yung sinasabi nating H, okay? Now, since you have this given angle, 52 degrees, so opposite this angle, ito, segment AJ, okay, segment AJ, o yung sinasabi nating side C, this will be our opposite side. Okay? And syempre pa, referring to this angle, 52 degrees, segment CA here, o kaya ito yung tinatawag natin side J, di ba? Is our adjacent side when it comes to 52 degrees. Kung yun ang ating pagbabasehan. Now, let us answer again problem number 1. Which of the following illustrates sine 52 degrees? Looking at this angle, sabi natin, pagka ito ay sine, stands for this acronym SO. Tama? Or pattern SO, I mean. So S for sine and O for opposite and H for hypotenuse. In this case, our opposite side is what? Segment AJ. So it's either A or B. But for sure, kailangan nating alamin yung hypotenuse. And our H here is segment CJ. So very obvious, this is segment CJ. Therefore, the correct answer in number 1 is B. Okay? Next, which of the following trigonometric ratios illustrates segment AJ? Asan ba yung segment AJ? So this will be our opposite side. And then over segment CA, which is our adjacent side. So if you notice, it's O over A. And according to our 6 trigonometric patterns, or 6 trigonometric ratios, ito ay tumutukoy sa TOA, na kung saan T is for tangent. Nasaan ba ang tangent? Ayun, that is letter C. So ang sagot sa number 2, C. Next, which of the following illustrates secant 52 degrees? Sabi natin, secant is for sec, and then yung ating magiging pattern ratio ay H over A. Kaya doon pumasok ulit si secant. So our hypotenuse is segment CJ. So it's obvious na pwedeng A, pwedeng B. Pero syempre pa, para sigurado tayo, para talagang tama ang sagot natin, ano yung adjacent side? And our adjacent side is CA. So, eto. Kung mapapansin nyo, the correct answer is letter A. So, mga bata, yung ginagawa ng sir ay yung process of elimination noong ating mga options. So, from 4, nagiging 2. And then from 2, nasisiguro natin yung tamang sagot. Next, problem number 4. Which of the following trigonometric ratios illustrates segment CA? Ano nga ang segment CA natin? It is adjacent. And then over segment CJ, it is hypotenuse. So, adjacent over the hypotenuse ay tumutukoy sa C, then AH yung K. Which of course, alam natin itong C na to is for cosine. Tama? Kaya naman, ang sagot sa number 4 ay letter B. And last, given the measures of AJ is 4, CJ is 5, and CA is 3. Which is the value of trigonometric ratio tangent? So, alam natin ang tangent ay TOA. Diba? It's opposite over the adjacent side. So, kung aalamin natin, ang opposite natin is AJ. And that is 4. Tapos, adjacent side is CA. And that is 3. Kaya naman, 4 over 3. So, the correct answer is this. Letter D. So, this is it. Ito ngayon ang sagot sa ating assessment problem.